Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Online Smicha. So much emphasis is put into what we put into our mouth to make sure that it's kosher. And before we buy or before we bring home a food item, we check the hechsher to make sure all is fine. Even the smallest ingredient, there's loads of halachas that you have to know when a non-kosher ingredient causes a problem. That's what you learn in Hilchos Isser V'Heter, in Yoreh De'ah, etc., etc. There is an interesting discussion which is brought in one of the Achrayim, and it's perhaps based, you could prove it from a story in the Gemara. Just like you know that you're not allowed to have chazer in your kosher food, or lobster, or anything which the Torah or the Rabbanan prohibit. We're not allowed to have some of it in our kosher food, or its taste in our kosher food. There is something which is much closer to lobster, to chazer, that might be a problem that you never thought about. And that is, take an example, any kosher food that you may eat, if it's hot, and you're holding it on your hand, or it falls on your hand or any body part. Now we know, halachically, basar adam, human flesh, is asur. You're not allowed to eat. Obviously, chazer you're not allowed to eat, and human flesh you're not allowed to eat. Why are we so concerned that we check the hechsher to make sure there is no non-kosher flavoring, non-kosher taste in our food? But perhaps we should be careful that when we eat hot food, nothing should touch human flesh, because the taste of the human flesh might go into the food that's hot that you're about to eat. And that would be taste of a prohibited food item, a prohibited item. And this is actually a discussion that some of the Achrayim bring. Basically, the question is, does a living person, if something hot touches his flesh, would some of his taste, quote unquote, transfer onto the food that's hot? Obviously, it will depend the type of food, if it has a little moisture, it has liquid. But the general discussions, as it is in all other machalos asuris, how about a human flesh? So the Gemara in Masechta Gittin says a very interesting story. Masechta Gittin Daf Mem Hey Amud Aleph. The Gemara speaks about Bante de Rav Nachman, the daughters of Rav Nachman. They had a very funny act they would do. What did they do? Bachshron kidram biyadayu. They were able to stir a hot pot with their hands. If a pot was hot and they had to stir it, they stuck their hands in and stirred it. And says Rashi on that Gemara, Magisoy sakadera biyadayim. They were able to stir the food in the pot with their hands. Kishehiroi tachas. Even as the pot was hot. The Haraya and people watching, Savar, thought, wow, they must be special tzitkaniyos. She'ein ha'or she'letas behem. The reason why they're not getting burned, or why it doesn't affect them, they could keep their hands in hot water or hot food, she'tzitkaniya, and everybody thought they must be so righteous that they don't get affected by the heat of their food. It turns out at the end of the Gemara says, no, it was witchcraft that they were doing. But the fact is that the Gemara talks about a situation, the daughters of Rav Nachman, who would do so. And everybody went around saying, whoa, they must be special people. They must be tzidkaniyos. What happened to our issue? If the learned people that saw them doing it, why would they not say, hey, we got to keep your hands out, because your hand taste will go into the food. And the taste of a human body should also be prohibited. So some prove from this Gemara that the human body taste does not transfer by touching something hot. It's only all the halachas you learn, transferring in fire, transferring in cooking, that's food to food, pot to food, but not when you're dealing with a body that you're obviously not allowed to eat any human flesh. Its taste will not transfer into anything else.